with that, that brings us to step two, the importance of open-mindedness and optimism. I really borrow from positive psychology when it comes to this particular step, but you have to make a decision. A person has to make a decision. The participant in this challenge has to make a decision whether or not they want to allow this past event to hold them back, or are you going to use it as a vehicle, as information to propel you forward in your life? And that is a form of optimism and open mindedness. What you're going to do is by becoming open minded and having the courage to explore and take a look at yourself, um, you have to come to the realization how this process can serve to your advantage. And we're going to come back to this again in step four, when we talk about the laws of power, um, or giving away or regaining power. Right? If I'm sitting on this harm, if I'm sitting on this past injustice, how is it serving as a disadvantage? How am I giving my personal power over to that event or over to that person that did me wrong? And so you can begin taking a look at this in step two, where we decide to talk about optimism and open-mindedness. When it comes to optimism and open-mindedness, what we really want you to do is play a little bit of um, brain or psychological ping pong, right? Because they say the moment that you intentionally or consciously make a look, the take a look at an event with a positive mind frame, you use a different part of the brain. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about the neuroscience of forgiveness as we proceed through the process. But when it comes to open mindedness and optimism, you move from the lower brain, your primal instincts, to the human brain or your prefrontal cortex, right? The moment that you consciously and intentionally decide to look at a past harm or an event or a thing that happened in your life, you engage in a little psychological or neuroscientific tennis or volleyball, right? So you give yourself the opportunity to use and strengthen a different portion of your brain when you decide to look at an event or a situation with an open mind, or from an optimistic point of view rather than a pessimistic point of view. All right. So that's just a little bit about optimism and open mindedness. Again, if something is unclear, if you have questions, um, don't forget that you can join the Forgiveness Challenge 2025 Facebook group. That's the Forgiveness Challenge 2025 Facebook group. We have a discussion thread there where you can submit your questions. You could talk about your concerns. You can put your critiques there. I'm open to it all, because what I want people to know is that this framework is not final. It is fluid. It is ongoing. It is developing. And I hope that it will continue to grow with each person. Every time that I talk about forgiveness with someone, it'll continue to grow. So we want you to add to the development of this particular framework. And you can do that by joining the Forgiveness Challenge 2025 Facebook group. The other thing is, if you have additional questions or you want clarification, you can email me at jaedwards, that's jaedwards 230 at gmail.com. You can email me there, or you can email me at jamesedwards5611 at gmail.com. All right. So that's jaedwards 230 at gmail.com, or jamesedwards5611 at gmail.com. If you need clarification or if you have questions, we have a few avenues out there for you to get some additional guidance. All right. And so we got step one out the way with facing the facts, step two out the way with open mindedness versus optimism. That brings us to step three. And with step three, the principle behind step three is actually accountability, right? We don't want you to engage in a lot of finger pointing. If you are still blaming someone for what happened to you, if you still feel victimized and not empowered, you may not be ready for this process.